guys, going back today with a very impressive fully enclosed micro red dot on a budget. I've been looking at red dots like this for a while, but I haven't actually got one yet, and the first one that was sent out to the channel was from Cyelee. This is the new Cyelee Bear, and it fits the Glock MOS and RMR footprint with the adapter plates in the box. The cool thing about these plates is it allows the optic to clip on them similar to a pick rail, but bolt up either for the MOS with this plate right here or the RMR pattern you see right here. Now this is sitting on top of the Palmetto State Armory dagger, and I know a lot of guys are very interested in the dagger because it's such an affordable Glock 19 clone and you can get them at very reasonable prices. This is some of the best high value and budget just kind of Glock or 9mm handguns you can get right now, and I've got a ton of reviews on my channel as well as a ton of information, and you can find a lot of that info in the description below, so definitely check that out. Now this fully enclosed red dot by Cyelee features a lot of impressive technology like auto on and auto off feature, a very long battery life, and the fact that it's fully enclosed allows it to be protected from the elements. Now what you're going to see here is the dot gets insanely bright, probably one of the brightest dots I've ever seen on a red dot, and combine that with all the other features, this thing is absolutely spectacular. Now one thing you'll notice, it is a honking brick of a red dot, but that is generally the case with a lot of these fully enclosed red dots. This one is rather elegant and it mounted up incredibly easy. Unfortunately, because of YouTube's policies, I can't show any of that, but it was simple as installing the adapter plate and then cranking down on the two side screws to attach the optic. Now, this did not affect function at all down at the range, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but if you're worried about adding the weight to the top of the slide, it didn't affect the dagger whatsoever, and it's not a ton of reciprocating mass. Again, a lot of other fully enclosed red dots are this size. Now let's, got a little oil in there. Now let's talk a little bit about the price point of this optic and some of the other specs and features and performance, but before we do, I want to give a huge shout out to Callaway Ballistics for sponsoring the ammo for this channel. Without their support, it'd be really difficult to continue to produce reviews like this. These guys also did price drops on a ton of different stuff on their website, including 9mm, 223, 300 black, and subsonic 9. I also have the code 704 tactical for free shipping on ammo orders over $200. So combine that with the price drop and you can really save yourself a ton of money. Now, the box itself comes with the two adapter plates, one for the RMR and one for the MOS, and a lot of different screw bags, and I used the 632 screws that came in the bag for the dagger slide, and it mounted up rock solid. Once it was mounted, it didn't walk loose, it didn't come loose over time, and I did use a little Loctite on the screws that go through the plate into the slide itself, but then just crank down these two screws by hand with no Loctite added, and nothing came off. It's a push button design on the side with 8 settings, so it's got, or 10 settings, 8 daytime settings and 2 night vision settings. The auto on and off technology works very well, and you can see how dim it gets. Now, it may be just slightly blurry in here towards the edges. That's because it's got just a little bit of oil on the lens. I did re-oil the gun before I took it down to the range, so a little bit of oil was getting in the lens, but it functioned great. Now, the cool thing about this red dot being fully enclosed is if it's raining outside, it's IPX7 waterproof rated, so it's fully submergible up to 1 meter, I believe, for 30 minutes. So that's awesome. But if you're getting dirt and water on a traditional open top red dot, it can cover the emitter and you have to clear that off. Now, I've never found that to be a massive problem. A lot of guns I use are open top emitters, but this closed version with a window pane in the back and the front completely prevents that from happening, and if you get dirt on the lens, you simply wipe it off and still engage your target. In fact, even if the front lens gets covered up, you can simply wipe off the back lens and your knives will naturally put that red dot, even without a front lens, on the target. And because this is a fully enclosed tubular design, just by the very nature of machining and physics, this tube is going to be dramatically stronger than if you were to cut it off here and do more of that windowed front only effect of other red dots. They're just going to be naturally stronger and more reliable. The dots or the buttons themselves protrude ever so slightly, meaning that you can lay it on the ground and it's not going to press those buttons to adjust it or turn it off, but they are prominent enough to where you can easily pick them up and make your adjustments right there. The other cool thing about this is it does have a side battery compartment, so when you do want to swap out that battery, it's super simple. And then you can see the adjustments are they're raised up, but they're also protected by this lip right here, and the turrets are kind of built into the optic, so you don't have to worry about banging or bumping those around. It's a very elegant design, not a ton of sharp edges on there to get caught or snagged on anything. And again, this thing is just absolutely awesome. It held 0 at the range, nothing walked loose. It's probably one of the brightest red dots I've seen. So if you're in the desert with the bright sun or you're shooting in the snow with a lot of reflection, this is going to do just fine. And I absolutely love every single thing about this fully enclosed red dot, except for the fact that it is a little bit large. It's going to take getting used to. It sits a little bit higher up than a traditional red dot. A lot of times with these raised sights, they sit a little bit lower. But again, we're talking about an adapter plate. Then a lot of the internal components of the electronics and different emitter components are going to raise this up slightly rather than a traditional red dot. But I found that it points and shoots naturally, as you can see in the intro, with no issues whatsoever. Now, generally, fully enclosed red dots sell for right at about $350-ish to $400. This one is selling for $270, but they created a 14% off code specifically for my viewers to drop the price down to $232, which is the cheapest I've ever seen a fully enclosed red dot, especially with all these specs and features and performing so well down at the range. Me personally, this is what I'm going to. Like, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to use this. I've got a second one I'm going to mount to other different platforms. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in the fully enclosed red dot space. For me, this does everything I absolutely need it to. It's got a long battery life. The auto on and auto off has been working great. So this is what I'm going to stick with for now, especially when we're talking about kind of a new technology that you have to learn. And the technology is basically the same as another red dot, but it does have a different feel. So for me, getting into it at a more affordable price is a great opportunity to try something that you can actually trust and depend on, but that won't break the bank. And that's what this channel is all about. So again, if you want more information as well as the code and linking to this, because it's directly from Amazon, all of that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.